No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Train to Busan.
Yeah, man, this is exciting.
Man, so I know you don't like zombie movies, but this is the movie that is the reason we don't like other zombie movies. Because it turned out zombie movies could be good, and that was not apparent until this movie.
Yeah, like I told you in a text, I granted it came 20 years before, or not quite 20, but this is the movie I think that 28 Days Later could have been.
Yeah.
Um, I tried watching it, and I don't know if it was just because with the age of the film and it hasn't been remastered or whatever, but um, I just couldn't get into it. But this one, like from immediately, I was like, yes, I'm on board. This is great.
Yeah. This is, I mean, to be honest, it's not just a good zombie movie. It's a good movie. The themes are great. The character building is incredible. Like it bumps through character building so fast that like within, obviously there's a bit of setup with the main character and his daughter beforehand, and the reason they're on the train to Busan. She has just failed at her recital because she was supposed to sing for her class and she couldn't do it. Her mom and dad are separated, and so they're off on the train to Busan. That's their character set up. And then within like 5 minutes, they set up about like 10 other characters, like thoroughly set them up. I mean,
and he takes some shortcuts to bump through, but they don't feel like, oh, this is that guy, this is that guy, this is that guy. Like they are fleshed out.
Yeah,
they are real characters. And just because there's a little shorthand to kind of cut some steps doesn't make the characters any less three-dimensional.
Right. They are just so well developed. They are, yeah, like you said, they're shortcuts used. Hey, this guy's kind of aloof and this girl's really into him, so the other guys kind of jeer him about being into her. And like that's all you get really, but it's enough for you to understand their relationship within seconds, just literally seconds.
Or you've got I'm not gonna try names because
don't bother with names. Yeah.
But the kind of worker, the tough guy, he was my favorite character. Right away you're like, okay, so he's a bigger dude, he's kind of burly or whatever, but he's so sweet to his pregnant wife, and then eventually he does whatever he can to protect anybody. So the whole message is, you can't only look out for yourself, because that's what happens when you only look out for yourself, is you end up not being able to thrive. And he, from the moment, he's like the foil to our main character. He's bigger statured, he is more caring, and our main dude is a banker or an investment guy,
fund manager.
He's obviously not going to be a strong dude or whatever, but yeah, man.
And his daughter is like, you need to look out for other people too. Like, I'm your daughter, you should really think about me sometimes. And he's like, you got to think about yourself, especially when things get tough. And she's like, no, that's when you need to think about others the most.
Right.
And like that message could not be more relevant as we're all like sheltering in place from COVID-19. And
what's crazy is this is his first live action film.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
He did 2 other animated films, and then this was his first live action film.
It's so incredible, though. I mean, it's intense, but never gives up like action in order to deliver message, and never gives up message in order to deliver action. And so like the themes of the movie are like brilliant throughout, because they're not like super deep. I mean, it is really just like be generous, because that's how you've survived. You can't just not chip in your part too. I mean, and you've got, sorry, I was gonna say, and then you've got like on the other side, like you've got we'll call him Super Dad, the guy he's going to be a father, taking care of his pregnant wife. He looks out for the little girl too. Like he wants her to, but he's a human too. He's not like, Mr. like supreme benevolence. He's just a good person. And then on the other side, you've got the main character kind of in the middle. Then you've got the COO of the railway company who's like, we need to think about ourselves.
Yeah.
Help anyone else, stop trying. You're only going to get us killed by thinking about other people.
And his actions like directly lead to the death of just so many people.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, going back to, be generous, because that's how we've gotten here. I want to say it was James Woods, years ago, was doing an interview and was talking poorly about government assistance and stuff. And then he started talking about when he was young, his mother was on like food stamps and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was James Woods.
It wasn't. It was Craig Nelson. And he was like, no one ever gave us any handouts. We were so poor, we were on food stamps and welfare, and no one ever helped us.
It's like,
and you're like, that was like single sentence hypocrisy. Like,
anyway, that's just what brought me there.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So you showed me your picture of your notes. It's two things.
Hold on. Let me show you my notes before I stop taking notes just to watch the movie. We got as far as distracted driver, dude buys a Wii for his daughter, and then I like the pen is no longer in my hand. I'm just like,
yeah, because I usually have my phone out and I take notes as I watch it, and I was just from the beginning, I was like, okay, when things start happening, I'll start taking notes. So then, the distracted driver hits that deer, and I'm like, oh wow! And then the deer just like crawls up and like cracks its neck, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome.
Like a baby deer is terrifying. I can't wait till there's like threats.
What was funny about the Wii? So he asks his assistant, what are kids into? So we learned that it's his daughter's birthday. The assistant obviously goes and buys a Wii. This is what I was talking about, where there's maybe some shortcuts taken for character development, but they add to it. So what you infer is he knows it's the daughter's birthday, asks his assistant what kids are into because he doesn't know. The assistant buys a Wii, and then we see he already got her one for Children's Day that year. And he's like, well, shit. What else do you want? So then we see them later on the train, and it looks like he got her a 3DS.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He got her a 3DS.
Yeah. So
actually, I think that was the back ad of a magazine.
Oh, okay.
But when he asks her what she wants, the answer is to go see her mother because he and his wife are separated. And clearly the mother is in touch with her. Like when he comes in, she's on the phone with her mother, which is, like he asks his assistant what the kids want. He didn't ask the kid who literally lives with him. And like he has the conversation on the phone with his mother where she's like, you should really just talk to her. And he's like, pass.
Do I have to? Yeah, I think obviously it's an attempt in the father to keep things in control.
Right.
Where if he can come home with the hot thing kids are into, he's like, yeah, I know what's going on. Yeah, I know you.
Yeah. So. His daughter's like, yeah, but you clearly don't shop for me. You don't take part in my life, or you would know that I already have a Wii. Really
Yeah.
dating the movie, by the way.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh, Wii U, and I'm like, oh,
No,
oh,
no, that was that very limited run of Black Wii with the Mario game attached.
okay. It's okay. It could have been anything. It's a MacGuffin.
Yeah, and it's just really to emphasize the point of like he doesn't pay attention and isn't interested.
Right.
He wants success without the effort.
Now, I didn't catch what was going on. So he's an investor, or he handles, he's a hedge fund or something, manager. Stop it. And they're telling him to sell their stake in something. And I assume, like, you learned that it has, I guess it's the chemical company that's involved.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess I didn't know what their connection was to the whole thing. No, it's not important, but because the assistant calls him later and is afraid that they caused this outbreak. And I'm like, but you guys...
Right. You're the number guys. And
Yeah.
But I love that the assistant feels complicit. Like, you and I go, okay, he's just handling money, so he's not like part of the chemicals. He doesn't make the decisions. But like, the company can't get by without those accountants, without those fund managers, people investing in a company. And so in a way, they are complicit. And I think that we try really hard to distance ourselves from what our money supports.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's accurate. I mean, unfortunately, I go to Chick-fil-A and love Chick-fil-A, and then you hear that, maybe the things that they've supported in the past haven't been the best, but I still keep going.
I mean, we are completely surrounded by that. It's not just Chick-fil-A. It's also Walmart. It's also Amazon, and it's Apple products, and I mean, it is so hard to walk that line because, we'll say, all right, I'm going to stop going to Chick-fil-A. Look at me. I'm worth celebrating. Let's go to Walmart with our good feelings,
Right.
And Walmart's telling their employees to work off the clock. There is always this separation. And even if it wasn't so direct, like, so I don't know if you knew this about me, but I went to school for economics. And so there's this thing called an externality. It's when the price of something is paid by someone not involved. So if I make a factory that makes screws, right? And my factory pollutes in exchange for cheaper screws. If I build that factory in your town, you're probably not going to buy my screws. You're going to be like, no way, they pollute my town. Well, fine. I'll sell those screws down, to the town next door. And they buy them because they're cheaper and I'm not polluting them. It's an externality. You're paying the price for their cheap screws. Or, what if I sell them to, Apple or, IKEA? And IKEA is like, fantastic, I'm going to buy these really cheap screws because our customers aren't going to understand, the price hike if we buy non-polluting screws. So we have a lot of that where like parts are made one place, the thing is made a different place, and it's sold in a completely different place. And that's where a lot of our ideas of the free market break down, is because we can't be informed enough in order to correctly choose where our money goes.
Yeah, since getting into selling cars, I've learned that there's 3 places that Lexuses are built. They're built in Japan, in Canada, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
And like 75% of a car will be done in one place and then shipped off and finished in another. Only certain models are done in certain places.
Right.
So like if the plant in Japan is like to a T, the cleanest place will ever be, it doesn't mean that the one in Kentucky is that way. I mean, you would hope so because the standards would be the same, but you know, there's no way of, I guess, holding those accountable. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
And I mean, that's kind of where I think the guilt over this guy, this main character's job is he has been working for a company. He doesn't care what they do. He's not been looking into it. He's been trying to manage their money for his daughter, who doesn't want him to work there, and it's taking him away from his family, which is clearly fallen apart because he's been working for this company. And the commerce of like that, and of course they fly through all of that. Like none of that is like dwelled upon, none of it's hammered home. It's just boom, that's a thing that's there. You got to face that. You got to deal with that reality while the zombie apocalypse is going on.
Yeah, we're not even on the train yet.
Like, we're not even on the train.
There's so much back into what you can infer. It's like the opening credits to Mulholland Drive, the movie Mulholland Drive, David Lynch. The opening credits are all over the place. But apparently, if you watch them closely, you can understand the entire movie just by watching the opening credits.
That's what I hear.
I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying
David Lynch is a brilliant filmmaker. Who is not
something.
He is absolutely brilliant. I think the things he does are brilliant, and I don't want to watch them again.
No, I own Mulholland Drive, and because I watched it the first time, I was like, "This is really good," and then I bought it and watched it again. I was like, "What is going on?
Why did I felt that way about Twin Peaks, where like the first time you watch it, you're like, oh man, yeah, I'm on board. And then you watch it again and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yep. I couldn't make it through Eraserhead. What else did he do? Anyway.
Eraserhead's definitely the most brilliant first film of any director I've ever seen. Like, there are scenes of that movie that stuck with me for literally years, where I'll be like sitting there, have not seen the movie in, a decade, and we'll just be like, man, I remember this scene so vividly, a woman dancing, singing, in heaven everything is fine, while stepping on snakes, and that's not an exaggeration, that's really in Eraserhead. Anyway, so
yeah. We should just call the podcast "Let's Get Distracted."
Let's get distracted. But so they get in the car, like on the way to the train. This is like sun has not come up, and some of the most brilliant shots as we're looking at these two in the car, the same way we would look at anyone else in a car in any movie, except suddenly they slam on the brakes. And it's really distracting because they don't use the typical prep you to see action breaks that we see in America, where they would show the outside of the car and then someone coming in front of it before the brakes are hit. We are just mid dialogue when the brakes are hit, and I love that it actually managed to surprise me by not putting in those.
And keep in mind, like I said, this is his first live action film that he's directed, and some of the cinematography or some of the shots, especially right there where you see the girl looking into the city, and then as he looks into the city too, and then I think you can see a building on fire as in a reflection of the window.
Right. So you can see
rather than a shot
counter shot.
It's just this steady pull, and you see the reflection. I was like, yes, I'm about this.
Yeah. So you're seeing their reaction to the thing you were also seeing at the same time, and it's great. Oh, it's so good. So
now I see why Philly D kept saying, "Watch this movie."
Man, like it actually just every time I watch this movie, I get so disappointed in every other zombie movie, every other one, because I'm like, you could have been so good. No one said just because you're making a zombie movie, it had to be terrible. Looking at you, Brad Pitt.
Oh man, World War Z.
So
you've seen this before?
Busan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess because when you said you were taking notes and then you stopped, I guess I thought this was your first time as well. Well, this is exciting then. If you get this excited for whatever viewing this is, then that's awesome.
I think it's the third.
Awesome.
I think it's the third viewing. It's just so good. But yeah, so like the train, they're establishing the train. They start with like the rapport between the workers on the train, where you're not even getting to know them, just getting to know their personality for their actions. Like there's a brilliant interaction, which like any editor who would working on a major movie would have cut this shot. But the one of the, they're not stewardesses,
right? The like attendants or whatever.
Attendants, yeah. It comes out of the bathroom, and the other one's like, "You need to look at your ascot."
Yeah,
because it's turned. And she's like, "Oh, my bad." So you know that this guy, like, he's big on the rules, but he's also trying to be polite. So you can already get this guy's conflicts about rules and following orders, and
which establishes or sets stuff up for later.
Yeah, exactly. Like we didn't need that, but it humanized this character. This like 2 seconds humanizes this guy so much that we later feel bad for a guy doing a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, it's all just people getting on board. We have a baseball team, and there's one fan, and she's interested in one of the players, and he is not about that life. And it's
the brother in Parasite.
Yes. Yeah.
I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, okay." That's what made me look up and find out that it wasn't the same director. I was like, "Oh, he must be in other things he's done." I'm like, "Oh, it's not." Okay.
All Asian filmmakers look the same to me. I'm kidding. Oh, no. So kidding. I'm going to hell for that one.
So I watched this on Netflix just because I'm like, oh, I know Netflix has it, so that's where I ended up watching it.
Did they?
And what was weird to me, because I don't know if all the subtitles are the same, but the ones on the Netflix one where he's trying to go into the bathroom, or the little girl's trying to go in the bathroom, and the guy's pregnant wife is in there, he says there's two people pissing in there. I'm like, who says that to a child? So I wanted to know if the subtitles were the same on the copy you have.
Not at all. But he's just like, it's going to be a while. You should find another cart. But like, that's hilarious because like I kept thinking like my subtitles were the worst because like they would frequently say, like get pronouns wrong. Rather than saying like his, they didn't never use the word his. They always use the word he's.
Oh, so, weird.
Yeah. It's like he's cell phone, he's on his cell phone, like that kind of thing. You're like, come on guys, get someone who speaks English.
Right.
But, I mean, they need to pay subtitle people better. So that way.
Yeah, I just thought that was really funny. I'm like, I wonder if the subtitles are the same because, it's going to be a while. There's two people pissing in there. I'm like, what the hell?
That's hilarious, though. That's totally a line he would say, Oh, yeah, she's peeing for two. When he names never mind. We'll get there. So,
right.
His pregnant wife's in the bathroom, and they kind of established that they haven't named the kid yet.
Right.
The two sisters, the two old ladies, like, how'd you get an egg in here? She's like, oh, you know, they're looking after each other like they've lived together all their lives and just keep looking after each other and trying to help each other out. But like, you can really tell how dependent they are on each other.
Which again, it's so funny as we talk about it, the things that they lay out in the beginning, every single one of them pays off. Everything pays off in the end.
Yeah, and they're not like awkward. Like, you're not just sitting there watching people load Chekhov's gun. They're not like checking off a list. You see them as like character building, and those character building moments pay off almost directly. And oh, so good. Oh. So the train is leaving the station, and as it's leaving, sick woman jumps on train. We know what's going on. We've seen every other zombie movie, but she just kind of goes into the bathroom, and rich guy is like, hey man, there's some weird person in the bathroom. They look pretty sketchy. Turns out it's a homeless guy, not the bathroom with the sick woman, but instead a homeless guy who's like, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. And that's all he says. Then, like, the little girl gets up to go to the bathroom, so she's separated from her dad. The woman is freaking out in the bathroom as she's trying to tourniquet her leg that's been bit. We know it's not going to work, and it's just all this tension is building up. Like you know, and this is seconds. Like, all of this is happening in seconds. Like, little girl's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Oh, this one's occupied. I'll have to go even further away. And we're like, no! And, you know, none of the characters know. And they're just very casually building this huge amount of tension, which finally, sick woman attacks one of the attendants. One of the attendants.
The one with I think it's the one with the scarf, but I'm not sure.
It is, and that's why the other guy goes to check on her, because you kind of got the feeling that he was like paying attention to her looks and things. Again, it's a 2-second scene of him just being like, "Oh, you're ascot," which maybe he was checking out her chest, you know. But we totally get the relationship, and so him going after her, seeing her being torn apart. And then everyone's running on the train. No one knows where anyone else is. Oh, it's so intense because you also don't know where the girl has gone to the bathroom. You don't know if the dad's going to get to her in time.
Right. Because you feel like, even though the father is disconnected, you don't feel malice towards him. At least I don't.
No,
you know,
it's feel pity.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're like, well, damn. Like, he's gotten away from the office because he wants to do right by his daughter. And now look what's happened. If he had just gone to work, well, no, things would have gotten even worse probably. But, you know, because he wants to do this thing for his daughter, and now he's got these insurmountable odds because she's gone on this train somewhere.
She's in a bathroom.
Yep.
So, yeah. Pretty soon, the train is divided among infected and non-infected folks. Oh, so while everyone's running back, though, a big moment is the super dad guy is like getting his wife to run as he's like holding the door closed.
Mm-hmm.
And they start running towards the next car door so that they can put, you know, some distance between them. And main character dad is like, we got to close the door. They're coming. We can't save these two, the pregnant woman or her husband. Screw them, I guess. And that's when the guy like comes in and he's kind of in shock, and he opens the door, forces it open, and closes it behind him before the zombies get in. And he's looking at him like, "You tried to leave me.
Yeah.
I should kill you, really, to prevent that from happening again." You know, and like, you know, you think about everyone has their plan for the zombie apocalypse. Like, there's an Onion article a while back. If the zombie apocalypse happened, like, world completely prepared for zombie apocalypse, like no disaster at all. Zombies do not stand a chance against all the people who have their plans ready. This dude's like, no, apocalypse is going on, and if you're not going to save other people, you're the first to die. But they should really be second. First is anyone religious who won't stop talking about how God has chosen this disaster. I've seen horror movies. That's the one you got to look out for.
And if we're going by old school rules, you got to, unfortunately, any people of color are the first ones to go.
They are, in especially 80s horror movies.
Yeah.
Where it was like, we need to increase the body count, and we also need to appeal to non-white viewers. Well, two birds, one stone.
There it goes. There it is.
But this, so yeah, they
get
stop
at the next station, right?
Well, no, the first station they come to, they're like, we're not going to stop. We're told it's unsafe. And people are like slamming on the things like, please stop. And you're watching them getting eaten as their hope, which was this train, dies. You know, like their hope dies as the train just kind of pulls through like, we can't help you without, dying ourselves. And they have to watch as the people they don't help die.
Yeah.
Man. So, like, zombies are the setting in this movie. They are not, they're not the villain, which is...
Right. The villains are the people that just don't help others.
Yeah.
I mean,
selfish people.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. To kind of just drive that home. It's funny you say that. I've never thought of it like that. Like, zombies are a thing that's just happening. It's a circumstance.
Yeah.
They're not the villains. They
right.
don't have a mind to think.
And it could have been
show that later too.
Yeah, it could have been a volcano. It could have been global warming coming after New York. Sorry, that's my one point of reference for disaster movie.
I mean, it could have been darkness. It could have been the mist. It could have been the blob. It
could have been anything, but that's not the villain. The villain is being selfish, overcoming.
Humanity is the real monster.
It's so good because it never villainizes the monsters either. Like, they're scary, but they are not malicious.
Right. Like, I think that they eventually establish when they're going through the tunnels that these zombies are, it's not malice. They're acting out of like reflex.
Yeah.
They don't have rational thought to say, oh, you're a living creature, I'm going to murder you. It's just, well, this is a thing that we do, and you're not doing it, so you got to do it. Now let's do
it. So we get to the next station, which is a town that the military has taken over in order to protect it, which is awesome. And the main character has an inside guy in the military, or he's a reporter, something. He has the know. And he's like, hey, what's going on here? He's like, you're going to be put into quarantine when you get up there with everyone else. Hope quarantine works out,
Yeah.
And he's like, can we not? And so he gets this secret way to get around the quarantine and get in. And he's trying to take his daughter, and his daughter's like, but what about literally everyone else? And he's like, we can't help them. She's like, disagree, not going with you.
Hard pass.
Yeah. And it's just so good because like he's sitting there like, I know during normal times, caring about others, the way to go. During hard times, caring about yourself is the way to go. And that does not work out at all. Like,
you know, in Hesitations 4:6 in the Bible, it says, God helps those who helps themselves.
In what?
Hesitations 4:6.
Hesitations?
It's not a real book. It's an
that's
old church joke.
Okay, I was like, that's not a book of the Bible.
No, it's an old church joke of like, because it sounds like Lamentations and the dog's got a thing. But yeah, God helps those who help themselves, which is not a thing.
Right. But yeah, I mean, and that's, if you want to get into the religious side, the movie does not, but I mean, that's a big thing of a lot of Christians, especially here in America, where we have this notion of God is providing for me, which means I'm doing the right thing. So don't help others because I did the right thing. And if they do the right thing, God will help them too. When like literally the last thing he says to anyone on earth is like, if you love me, you're going to take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, dude spends so much of his time going, stop trying to take care of yourself. Start helping other people.
Be righteous to each other.
Yeah.
The two prophets.
Party on, dudes.
Yeah.
That wasn't a Bill and Ted quote, was it?
It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said the two prophets, and I was going to say Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, essentially that's his whole message is to be righteous to each other. Treat others as you treat yourself. That's the only commandment. That's it. Yeah. Because if you do that, then everything else falls into place. But anyway.
Yeah. Back to Busan. So the whole station is overrun. They're like, look, we've lost contact with the entire military. It may not be safe. So they all rush back to the train. Most of them get eaten. But so they get back, and then they are now in 3 separate groups. There's the cushy people up front. There is the homeless guy, one of the sisters, the pregnant woman, and the little girl locked in a bathroom. Up also in the cushy front is the cheerleader girl, and the other sister, the rich guy, and our attendant, the surviving attendant. And then in the very back, like jumping on the train as it's pulling away, we've got our baseball player, our main character, and Super Dad.
And there's the coolest sequence where he's running along the train, and all you see is Dad's arm reached out to Super Dad, and you're like, he's not gonna make it because he's like slowing down, but you see his attention diverts. Right. Because he breaks left, grabs a riot shield and a baton because there's zombies coming the other way that you don't see, but he sees it. And so you don't realize what's happening until he comes back in. It knocks the crap out of the other zombies. And you're like, well, I guess that's his sacrifice. But no. He gets on the train. So awesome.
Man, if he was... The thing is, like, that I really get from that shot, which is so good, is that had he been focused on his own survival, focused on getting on the train,
man. Yes.
If that was all he paid attention to, he'd be dead. Just straight up, he would have run into those guys, and you saw it happen like 5-6 times before that. These baseball players, like, oh, there's our train. We're gonna, oh God, and he's like, oh God, you know. And they're so focused on their survival that they're not paying attention elsewhere. And he's running after the train, and he's like, there's zombies there. How am I going to deal with that? There's a riot gear over there. I'm going to have to grab that, and then I can worry about getting on the train.
And it's all one unbroken sequence.
Oh, so good.
And, oh, man, just watching, I'm like on the edge of my couch like, oh, yeah, no, this is great. I see you.
Yeah. But so now, like, the 4 people trapped in the bathrooms are also like, zombies are banging on the door. They are in trouble. You can't just like, okay, we're back on the train. Let's sit and ride it out till we get there. No, they have to move forward. Yeah. And so the 3 guys in the back start working their way forward. They've got cell phones, so they're communicating throughout. All 3 groups are in contact. And you have this guy, you know, the gearing up scene is so good because, like, the baseball player's like, I'm going to have to swing a baseball bat because that's what I know. You know, Super Dad's like winding tape around his arm. Yes. He's going to punch a zombie in the face, and you're like, I'm so here for it. Oh. And
this whole time he's been wearing this like blue like blazer, and his pocket square doesn't fly out.
Right.
It's awesome.
He takes off the scarf.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we're going to have to fight our way through because they can't wait for us to get to the next stop. We're going to have to move. And, you know, and it's so good. So they go to the first train, and they're like fighting their way through, and it's just catharsis at this point, where you see like big guy throwing zombies against the ceiling and like breaking necks. Not that it does anything, but like this is a guy who manhandles people, and they're just trying to get through. And they get to the next car, and they're trying, but they're not pushing through. And then suddenly they enter a tunnel, and the zombies just stop. And they're like, they can't see us. And then like some baseballs fall in the back. That was it. It was the baseball cart. They get, and the whole baseball team is infected. So this dude needs to get through his own team, all of his friends, and he can't bring himself to do it. And that's when the baseballs fall and all the zombies go walking to the back. And they make a plan to go into a cart a little bit and leave a cell phone behind, and then call the cell phone so it will ring, and all the zombies will walk past them to get up. Just, they're, you know, breaking the code.
Because, you're still watching it, like, with bated breath. Like, oh, man. Because they know I don't know if they know how long those tunnels are, so they don't know how long they're going to have darkness.
Right.
So then they walk past them, and as soon as it gets to be daylight, or like the light comes back, you're like, shit.
They
go.
Run around.
Run, bitch, run!
And these are the fastest zombies. Like, from bite to now is hunting human flesh is seconds.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you're bit, oh, crap. Well, now I'm on this side, you know.
I will say that it does take a little longer for our main characters when they get turned, but whatever. Maybe because that means that they're more human. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Spoiler alert, because there's no way to get through a zombie movie without having some of our characters die.
With all our main characters intact, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they finally get up to the bathrooms. And they get there kind of just in time for the light. So now they're in bathrooms next to each other.
Yeah.
Having to wait before they move on towards the new safe area. They don't go backwards. They're going forwards because they know there's another cart up there. Because cheerleader has told baseball guy, hey, there's a bunch of people up here. It's safe. come on up. And of course, Cheerleader's telling her friends or the people up there, she's like, there's more survivors. They're coming up. And Rich Guy is like, no, they could be infected. We don't know.
Yeah.
We got to be selfish here. And
Yeah.
so they are finally like getting all the way towards the front, and the other guys have locked the door.
Yep.
And so now they're trying to hold back zombies while they get the front door open. And the hesitation from the front guys is finally like killing people as Super Dad gets bit.
I knew it was going to happen. I really did, but I shed a little tear. I really did. I was so sad that my favorite character is now going to turn.
I hold it together until he's like, hey, here's what we named the son, but you're going to have to take care of him.
Yeah.
And you're like, God damn it. Like, she's pregnant, so we have to.
So, a note about the pregnant lady. I knew in my head, in my heart, she's going to go into labor at some point, but it didn't happen.
It doesn't
and
happen.
I'm very thankful that they didn't, because that's definitely a zombie trope. There's always a pregnant person, and they're always going to go into labor. What is it? Is it Day of the Dead where the baby is a zombie?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
I think it's.
And they're like, yeah, and they're like keeping the baby a secret. And they're like, oh, yeah, because the baby is a zombie.
Because the mother gets bit before the birth, and so he keeps her alive but chained up so that she'll give birth, and the baby's a zombie. Like, it's such a trope to kill. It's a 2-for-1 kill when you kill a pregnant woman, and that's you kept waiting for them to pull that trigger, and it's the whole movie takes place in like a couple hours. Like, we are not looking at a long time, and so, like, it doesn't really make sense for her to go into labor.
Right.
And so they don't, instead it's more about character development. Her being pregnant really is only so that you know about the relationship between her and Super Dad, how serious it is, and how much they care for each other. And, how hard her life is going to be if she gets through this. So they finally get into the rich person's cart, or the survivor, and they've now lost someone. They've now lost 2 people because the sister also gets bit in the attack. And the guy who's been selfish the whole time is like, they can't stay here. We don't know if one of them got bit while they were holding off the zombies and we had the door locked.
Yeah.
And
he's like, look at his eyes. Look, he's already crazy. And everyone on board is like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they're all looking at it from a self-interested perspective. Any one of them could have left. And it's the ones who kind of disregard their own safety. Like the girl, the cheerleader, could have stayed in that cart. They would have let her. But she's like, no, I want to be with you. And screw those guys. So
the sister, she wasn't like ravenous. That was interesting to me because it was like well established. Like once you turn, like you become like a mindless, crazed thing. But the elderly sister is just kind of like chilling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's supposed to speak to how connected those 2 were, because once our group leaves the safety, she opens the door and lets them in because she doesn't want to live without her sister.
Yeah.
And so like the next scene we see, because I think they had sprayed the fire extinguisher to white the windows,
right?
And so all we see are these
bodies
hitting the window, and you're like, well, all those selfish ass people are now dead.
Yeah. And you're so happy that the zombies are winning. And like the sister, yeah, she's just like, my sister could have made it through had we opened the door.
Yeah.
She'd have been in here, we'd be fine. But these guys said no. So if I let her in, not only do I not have to live without my sister, but all the people responsible for her death also die.
Yeah.
That was just, win-win.
Poetic justice.
Yeah. So the train moves on, and suddenly there's a train on the tracks. The train can go no further. So the conductor is like, I'm going to try to get a train. I'm going to move it to the far left track. Get there if you can.
Yeah, he says transfer safely. And I'm like, this guy, that's another part that's kind of built is the,
yeah.
I guess, it's not just raw professionalism. It's just this guy is a train conductor, and like that's what he does. That is his role. That is his life, and he's gonna do it. Damn it, whether the world is burning down around him or not. And he doesn't think that, like, well, this is as far as we can go. See you later. It's I'm gonna fulfill my duties because I told you I'm going to get you to Busan, so I'm going to fulfill that promise, and I'm going to go find a train.
And it's so
God damn it, if that's not like just so different from. It was awesome.
And it's not told with like a monologue where he's talking about his duty or anything. It's all just in his mannerisms and his, like, you just kind of, it's so well acted, just brilliantly acted, where there's just like, this is all I can do. I move trains, people get on trains. I'll try to get the passengers here. If you're still alive, get to this train. That's what
I'm getting a little choked up. I'm not even kidding. It's like, it's a really, like, I think it's important, again, to note, like you just said, that it's not this self-serious, like, it is my duty and this whole monologue. It's just a very, like, this is the situation. We have stopped because we can't go any further. I'm going to do my best to get a train, transfer safely, and I'll get you to Busan. And that's it. Yeah.
And it's just kind of all in his focus, in his eyes, and the way he delivers that you get this sense of duty. You understand who the character is through acting. Oh, so good. And he goes through a train. Gets out. It follows him as he walks past several trains that are just loaded with zombies. They're just full of them, and he's like, nope, this isn't the way to go. So he tries something else. He opens up a door, goes across one of the trains, which is full of zombies, and he closes doors behind him. Which will matter. So he closes doors behind him to keep zombies from following him or getting out. And he finds a train and gets it on the right track. He's moving forward. And of course, this huge flaming train, which apparently has been following them since the military train, comes down the track as all the others are getting off the train. So not only did they survive, but it turns out the COO and the attendant have also survived, locked in a bathroom while everyone else in the car was killed. And
yeah, I
he
was
kind of looks out.
I missed how they survived, so I'm glad you recapped that.
Yeah, so they got into a bathroom, and he looks out, and they're like, and the attendant's like, "Is it clear?" And he's like, "Yep, it's clear. Let's go. We're gonna have to get over there." The attendant starts to look out, and the dude just shoves him into a zombie, like, distract him for me. And this is when he goes kind of villain, and they have set him up to go villain. Like, he doesn't just like flip a switch. You see him elevate in what he's willing to do to save himself, to where him pushing this guy and sentencing him to die, we totally buy it. We're not like, that's out of character. No real person would do that. We see him get there in steps.
Yep.
And so everyone's trying to cross, but the team is split up as the fire train splits them up. The baseball player and the cheerleader, they get onto a train, and they're trying to get through one of the trains to get to the far left side, and they can't get through the other side door, so they're trying to break through the window. And COO dude is like running up there leading a whole pack of zombies, and he sees her and is like, oh good, someone to feed to the zombies while I escape. And he throws her to even more zombies, and he gets through the window, and he's still barreling towards the train. And so the girl is bit, and the baseball player is like, I don't want to do this without you.
Yeah. So we see that he actually did have affection towards her.
Yeah.
It wasn't just some groupie, some tag along that,
right.
It was an embarrassing, like, oh, a crush, whatever, which culminated in the two of them going out together.
Yeah. And so she got bit, and he had no motivation after that. Yeah. He wasn't going on for himself, and if she's not going to make it, he doesn't want to. So he just stays with her till she turns and bites him.
Yeah.
Back to the remaining, we have homeless guy, pregnant woman, main character, and his daughter.
And the COO.
And COO. So COO is leading that trail of zombies right to the new train, and he trips on the tracks and kind of stumbles. But the conductor gets out of his escape ticket, and he starts running back to help the COO. And the COO is like, thanks, buddy. See ya.
Yep.
Thanks for the train. And conductor is yelling. He's like, help, please help me. And he's like, nope, can't do it.
And his heart shrunk 3 sizes that day.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. At that point, we are rooting for the zombies to kill the COO. But so main 4 that are left, they are sandwiched between 2 trains that have like landed kind of at an angle, and they have to kind of crawl in this little alcove, but the train above them that's at an angle is just filled with zombies who are just banging on the glass as they are like crawling under trains to try to get through. And finally the glass starts breaking as 3 of them start to go, but the homeless guy's like, nope, you guys do it. I'm going to hold these guys back. And he gets overwhelmed, but the 3 of them are running towards the train that's getting away, and the largest collection of zombies. You remember in World War Z where they tried to make a big deal of the zombies standing on zombies in order to build a ladder? You remember how not tense that was? And they thought it was like really tense. They thought this is like going to be so intense seeing this, and it's just not.
Yeah.
That tension happens now in Train to Busan, where they are getting onto the train that's getting away, and the zombies start holding on to the back of the train and basically make a flatbed of bodies just holding on to the back. And the dad's like trying to kick them away, knowing there's no way he can kick away this huge collection of zombies. And like one of them like is running on top of the big pile of zombies to get to the train, and they're fighting him on there. And they finally do manage to push them all off, and that wagon thing goes. But that whole scene was so intense. And then the person driving the train, the COO, comes out, and he has very clearly turned. He's got the veins we've seen. His eyes are gone. And he's like, you got to help me. You have to help me get to my mother. And you start to realize that he is very, like, this is exactly what a selfish person looks like, where he just doesn't have concern for other people. He is only needy. And even they don't even like just throw him off. They're like, dude, you're infected. Look at you. And he's like, no. Okay, fine. And then he's zombie, and we have the zombie fight on the last train. Main character gets bit.
Yep. And he chains himself to the railing in such a fantastic motion, just flings himself off the side,
Flings
with
both
the
of them
COO
off.
in tow, and lets him fall.
Man.
And then pulls himself up.
Yeah. And that's when you daughter is like, the reason I couldn't sing in front of my classmates was because I only learned the song just for you. If you weren't there, I wasn't going to sing it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm really sorry. You're going to have to go on without me. And he says goodbye to his like 6-year-old daughter and just like hugs her and then just slams the door and runs away. And you're just like, and of course she's screaming the whole time. Oh, man. And then he has this great montage of seeing her grow up and realize that he's done everything he can to protect her. And it was all for her anyway. Even his selfishness of trying to care for himself was really to care for her. And the last thing he can do is jump from the train.
Yep.
So we get to the end of the line. Busan is supposedly the place where the military has succeeded in clearing out zombies because they just have a zero tolerance on things. And pregnant woman and little girl going through the tunnel, and you see the military guys now. And because of the way the light is, where it's dark in the tunnel, light on the other side, all they can see is the outlines of them. They can't see their eyes, anything about them. So they're aiming, and they ask for clarification on what they should do now that they see what looks like a woman and a child coming through the tunnel. And he's like, can you confirm that they're human? Like, not with this light. Okay, just kill them. Be safe. And after all of this, we see them that they're about to kill the last two things, the things everyone else, the last two people that everyone else has died for. But right when they're about to pull the trigger, he hears the girl singing the song she learned for her dad. Tears streaming down her face, tears streaming down my face, just, ugh. Why do we cry in a zombie movie? Oh, so good. And it fills you with hope because you know that this woman, she was planning on being a mother anyway. Maybe she can raise this little girl.
Because who knows the situation or the status of the girl's mom?
Yeah, she said she didn't answer her cell phone.
Okay. Because I know that we get a phone call from the main guy's mom, the grandma, and you can tell that it is not going well because her breathing is labored. And what's so interesting about her turn is, like I said, that they don't show malice. The zombies don't, but the grandmother starts very sweetly, and then she's like, she only wants her mother, and then she says, that bitch, and then the line goes dead.
Yeah.
So it's like there's an indication that there's some sort of rage that happens, and like maybe like the last thing, but we don't see that with anybody else. It doesn't seem like the father, his last moment is pure, I wouldn't say bliss, but like acceptance that he's done what he can and just lets go.
Yeah. I don't know if they were going for anything deep there other than I think a lot of it is internal monologue coming out. You know what I mean? Like maybe the mother had just been, or, you know, the grandmother had just been nice, trying to be friendly, but she really did have these like frustrated feelings about this other woman.
Because I mean, she even makes it a point, says you need to go to Busan and try and save your marriage. You can't give up your marriage this quickly. And then for her, like we said, hours. It's not days, it's hours later, in her dying breath, her last thing that she says to her son is that bitch. So it's a very strange thing, but yeah.
Yeah, and somewhere in there we find out that the company that the main character works for was responsible for the outbreak. The chemicals they were spraying at the beginning of the movie when the distracted driver hits the deer. Probably that.
And
it
even said it was a quarantine zone that they were sterilizing them.
Yeah.
Damn.
This movie is probably why I look at other movies that like, oh, well, they tried their hardest. And I'm like, you could have succeeded, because if like Train to Busan can make a zombie movie this emotional, this passionate, then I don't see why any genre of any kind can't have good characters, can't, you know, have good acting. This movie does not let up on intensity either. Like, there is no downtime. It is paced so well.
Part of me wants to see like an established, like Matt Reeves or somebody, try and adapt it to an American audience. I think it's a good film and I think it stands, but I wonder if it would do well.
We don't need an American Old Boy. I mean,
no. And I think it was weird that Spike Lee did that.
Yeah.
It was strange. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there are such circumstances or examples rather, like Let the Right One In was a remake of a Swedish film, I believe, that did relatively well.
Yeah.
There's I liked Contraband, the Mark Wahlberg movie. That's a Swedish film as well. So I think, yeah, it's a fun like crime movie, but whatever. I think that it could be interesting, but I genuinely feel that this is a film that like anybody can find enjoyment in.
Absolutely.
And I hate zombie movies.
Yeah. And you're going to hate them worse after watching Train to Busan, because every flaw is going to be like, oh, why are the characters doing this? They haven't established that. It's a zombie movie. Yeah, but it's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah, nope.
The shark has been jumped.
This movie inspired my choice of our next film.
Okay.
I want to watch Psychokinesis.
Okay.
I think it's called. It's this director's second film.
Oh, okay. So we're going to stay with the same director.
Yeah, and it's a superhero movie, but it's a South Korean superhero movie.
All right, I'm on board for that.
Where the guy drinks water from a spring that's been hit by a meteor, and that's how he gains his powers. It's on Netflix, but I'm sure you can find it. But the trailer looked really, really good.
I'll probably watch it on Netflix because at least their subtitles will be straight.